The Oversight and Government Reform Committee has spent much of the past year examining the events that contributed to the financial crisis. I strongly believe that it was our moral obligation to the American people to have a thorough understanding of what caused the current financial crisis and how the federal government responded. What is clear now is that the catastrophic failure of our nation's economy was caused by dangerous and unacceptable levels of risk that were allowed to build up in our financial system. We are here today to prevent a repeat of the financial crisis. We need to change the culture of Wall Street and the culture among the regulators from secrecy to transparency. The lack of transparency we saw in the bailout leads to distrust, which leads to anger, and we must protect taxpayers from reckless behavior in our financial markets and establish important consumer protections. Unless we in Congress adopt genuine financial services reform, it will be only a matter of time before we see another AIG, another Bear Stearns, another Lehman Brothers, and the next big bank will be too big to fail. And the taxpayers will wind up footing the bill again. I believe both the House and the Senate have made important steps to improve accountability and transparency in our nation's financial system. And that is our duty to ensure that the strongest possible bill comes from this conference. As chairman of the Oversight Committee, I want to express my support for several of the bill's accountability provisions. Let me add, I'm pleased that both the House and Senate bills contain language providing the Government Accountability Office with authority to conduct audits of the Federal Reserve. The House passed provisions in particular would strengthen GAO's oversight abilities and deserves very, very careful consideration. Both bills would strengthen the independence of inspector generals as key financial regulatory agencies. These provisions are consistent with the legislation reported by the Oversight Committee earlier this Congress, and I'm pleased they will be signed into law as part of this legislation. Both House and Senate bills also contain strong whistleblower protections for individuals who disclose evidence of illegal information that's going on in reference to the SEC. Chairman Frank graciously worked with me before the House bill came to the floor to ensure that the confidentiality language in the whistleblower provision is focused on protecting the identity of whistleblowers. The Senate bill, however, includes provisions that place restrictions on any information a whistleblower discloses to the SEC or the CFTC. This secrecy is unnecessary and may be counterproductive. I urge the conference to adopt the House-passed confidentiality language for both the SEC and the CFTC whistleblower provision. So I urge the conference to take a careful look at several provisions that waive the applicability of important good government and government acquisition rules. We need to carefully look at the waivers and ensure each is appropriate. Lastly, for similar reasons, I want to express my support for the House decision to establish a new independent consumer protection agency. If important consumer protection functions are placed within the Federal Reserve System, it would have the unintended consequences of waiving important good government and merit system rules, such as competitive hiring, whistleblower protection, federal acquisition statutes, the Freedom of Information Act, and federal ethics laws. We must make sure that all of these critical laws apply to the new consumer protection entity wherever it is housed. I proudly join my colleagues on this conference committee as we put in place policies that will help fix the financial system and protect consumers. Blame is about yesterday. Fixing this system is about the future. We should be about the future. On that note, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.